Right, welcome back, Melanie. Looking good.
Hi.
And welcome once again, everybody, to this Canada Specialist Program webinar. So our second presentation today, as I said, expanding beyond Winnipeg, maybe to the rest of Manitoba, joined by Melanie. Melanie is the Senior Manager Market Development at Travel Manitoba, leading a dedicated team in promoting Manitoba's amazing experiences and attractions. Melanie is passionate about Churchill and its incredible wildlife and nature, as well as the sophisticated offerings of Winnipeg, and you love talking about them, right, Mel?
You know that, absolutely.
Oh,
You can
good,
tell the
thank you.
passion.
Yeah, so passionate. We love it. So Churchill, Manitoba recently made Time Magazine's best places to visit. That's very exciting. Can you tell us a bit about that, Melanie?
Totally, we're so excited, and it actually comes hot on the heels of Winnipeg being named with Time Magazine back in 2021. So this year, or recently, Churchill was named as one of the top destinations to visit. Two reasons mainly. The one is the unparalleled wildlife viewing that you can see up close, and front row viewing of wildlife that you cannot see anywhere else in the world. And the second reason that it really was nominated was really because of the innovation that Churchill operators are doing in making sure that everything they do has minimal impact on the environment. So we're super excited with that title, with Time Magazine, and wonderful for both Churchill and Winnipeg to have been recognized in the last 2 years. So I'm going to share with you a quick video. I'll start with a quick video, and then we can jump into the presentation.
We all need travel, but we all need something a little different from the places we go. We need adventure, wonder, a thrill, a challenge. When your heart needs quiet, when your heart needs to race, to sing, to reflect. Whatever your heart needs, Canada's heart is calling.
Oh, beautiful video. Love it. Thank you. So kind of back to basics then, Mel. Yeah, how do we get to Manitoba, and then more specifically, how do you get to Churchill?
Totally. So Manitoba, as Sarah had shared earlier, right in the center of North America, coming in from Europe, probably coming in through either Toronto or Montreal. And then direct flights from Toronto and Montreal into Winnipeg. Halifax also has a direct in, so depending on which UK gateway you're using, many different options to come in. If you're coming through the States, I would probably think that clients coming into Winnipeg, again, might come in through Minneapolis or through Phoenix or some of the others like that. In terms of getting up north and getting to Churchill, that's a little bit more challenging, but make no mistake, it's certainly accessible. So Churchill is a remote town on the Hudson Bay. There's no road access up to Churchill. However, you can either fly with our regional carrier, so Calm Air. It's about a 2.5-hour flight in a jet from Winnipeg straight up to Churchill. Or the other option is coming through on via rail. So I always like to say, if folks are going to do the rail, I would do it one way. I would do fly up to Churchill for a couple of reasons. The one is that if you're flying up there, you're not going to experience any delays in terms of meeting your tours or any of the expeditions or excursions that you've booked. And then coming back from Churchill, come on the train. The train leaves in the evening. It leaves at about 7:30 evening, and if the northern lights are out, like I saw myself last year, you've got incredible northern lights for the first couple of hours while you're leaving Churchill on the train. Plus, you've got that glass dome car, which is just incredible viewing. So if you're flying, you could do it both ways, but if you're going want to include train, I would definitely fly there and train back.
That's
slow
a
rail.
Great tip. Yeah, thank you. And if anybody has been watching Race Across the World, they did see the Via Rail into Churchill, so seen what that looks like.
Yeah.
So I know there are actually three distinct seasons to Churchill.
For sure.
What are those three seasons?
So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So Hudson Bay freezes solidly in November every year. That's when the bears head out onto the ice and they're feeding and nourishing themselves, and moms are going into the dens to have their cubs, etc. But in May and June is when the ice starts breaking up, and that's when the seasons really start. So summer is one of my favorite times. You've got the polar bears coming right off the sea ice into Churchill and the surrounding areas. They're big and fat, and they're just amazing to see lounging on the rocks, keeping cool, or in the water. But the beluga whales are often the star of the show in summer. We get about 50,000 belugas that come into the Hudson Bay. About 3,000 to 4,000 of those come into the Churchill River estuary to calve and mate and have their babies. And then August for me is incredible because it also adds to the northern lights. The skies are dark enough. Fall brings polar bears in larger numbers as they're starting to congregate onto the near the bay, waiting for that ice to freeze that they can get out there. But we also have incredible other Arctic wildlife, whether it's moose or wolves or fox, etc. The fall colors are absolutely gorgeous, and northern lights. And then once the wildlife have left the area in February and March, you've got incredible northern lights. Churchill's located right below the Aurora Oval, so we get northern lights 300 nights a year. And then we've got culinary experiences, which I'll walk you through. Bit of the wildlife that you might see in that area, whether it's moose or wolves or Arctic foxes, bears. Most people think it's really snowy all the time up there, but summer is absolutely gorgeous with the fireweed and those bright purple colors. One of my favorites, a bear in the fireweed. This blooms in August, end of August or end of July into August each year. The belugas, absolutely incredible, whether you're kayaking or stand-up paddleboarding or Zodiac boat tours, or Lazy Bear is offering either aqua gliding, where you're lying on a mat and you've got your face with a mask and snorkel in the water. The belugas are coming up underneath you, or they've got a brand new boat that they're launching, which will have underwater viewing as well. Cool. So yeah, whether it's kayaking or in the boats, it's absolutely incredible. It's life-altering. Bears in the snow, this is what most people expect. It's the white on white, the photographer's dream. This is at Churchill Wild, one of their eco lodges. This is at Seal River Heritage Lodge. It's right on the Hudson Bay, on the walking path of the bears and the migration of the bears. And funnily enough, this one, the people are behind the fence and the bears are roaming and walking. Exactly, exactly. And then Northern Light season is incredible. This photo was taken at Dave Daly's Wapask Adventures at his teepee, where he does dog sledding and also tells Indigenous stories, which I'll talk a little bit further on in a moment. Culinary experiences. This is part of Frontiers North Adventures. They offer an incredible dining experience underneath the Northern Lights. You're dining in a mobile tundra buggy car or lodge. They set up an ice bar outside where they're doing whiskey pairings, and then inside local chefs and Indigenous chefs as well are preparing like 5-course meals where the roof is completely transparent, it's glass, and you're dining underneath the Northern Lights. So really incredible experiences. And those are the seasons.
Awesome. I'm like, you just basically reeled off a whole bunch of bucket list activities.
I know, right? I know. This is why I'm passionate. You can do all 3 in one trip.
So many things. Thank you. Again, back to sustainability. What are some of the sustainable travel activities or options in Manitoba?
So sustainability is a huge focus for all of our operators in Manitoba. And one of our thoughts are it's really easy to be green. Churchill Northern Study Centre is a year-round Arctic research station. It's located just outside the town of Churchill. They offer learning vacations and you can engage with scientists at the centre. But they also, because the ground is frozen so much, they've actually developed hydroponic rocket greens. So this is where they've set up like shipping containers or sea containers, and they're growing like bok choy and kale and things that you wouldn't expect up there, supplying both the community and local restaurants up there. Frontiers North Adventures is doing amazing things in the world of sustainable delivery of their experiences. They've converted 2 of their tundra buggies so far into electric vehicles or EV buggies, and then aiming at their entire fleet over the next 10 years. Falcon Trails Resort is a local in the Whiteshell. It's a local resort in the Whiteshell, and they're all high eco cabins, each made with reclaimed wood, all compostable programming. Churchill Wild, as most of you would probably know, offers walking safaris from remote eco lodges, using grey water, etc. Everything is all off the grid there. And then I picked one other to share with you, which is Oakhammock Marsh. It's just outside the city of Winnipeg. And it's actual marshlands. You can traverse them with canoes, etc. But they've elevated their boardwalks to eliminate the impact on the marsh itself. So when you're walking across the marshes, you're actually on elevated boardwalks, not impacting the environment at all.
Yeah, cool. And so Mel, we've talked a lot about Winnipeg and about Churchill. What about some other areas? If we wanted to go on a road trip from Winnipeg, where could we go?
Sure. So 3 different directions. You could go east towards the Whiteshell. It's about a 2-hour drive from Winnipeg, heading towards the Ontario border. There, it's very much lake life. It's cottages and cabins and camping, fishing, water activities, etc. A couple of properties in there that are working with trade, and we'll share that afterwards. Up north, 1-hour drive to Gimli, or a 2-hour drive 1 hour further to Hecla. These are both Icelandic settlements. So whether it's festivals that Sarah was mentioning earlier, they have a Viking festival up there. They have hotels and restaurants and spas, also lake life in both the summer and the winter. Winter, they set up an ice fishing village on Lake Winnipeg as well. So those 2 are incredible. And then one of my favorite parts of the province as well is heading out west towards Riding Mountain. This is heading towards Saskatchewan. It's about a 2.5-hour drive. The town site is known as Wasagaming. I like to think of it as like a little mini Banff, boutique hotels and restaurants, conference centers, but there's also shops and gorgeous little boutiques. And again, lake life, whether it's on the lake with sunset dinner cruises, or the renting of boats and paddle boats, or biking and hiking, wildlife with bisons. And then on the way, you've got various culinary experiences and craft breweries too.
Awesome, so much, thank you. So our final question today, again, is just going back to Indigenous tourism. What are some of your Indigenous experiences?
So thank you so much for asking this one. This is so important to the province, particularly with both Truth and Reconciliation, as well as really growing our Indigenous experiences. And we're certainly seeing from Europe, particularly, the need for incorporating cultural ideas into those presentations. So a couple of ideas. One, taking you from hurt to healing, would be a visit to the National Residential School Museum of Canada. This is located in Portage la Prairie. You have the opportunity to tour the facility, as well as meet with survivors of residential schools. Heading up to Churchill is the gorgeous young lady in the picture is Florence Hamilton, and she tells the stories of the Saisi Dene people and their nomadic nature, and then how they came to settle and where they were removed, etc. Always one not to miss would be dog sledding with Wapusk Adventures in Churchill. Dave Daly is a local Métis gentleman and the owner of the business, and plays a big role in the Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada. And Dave does a presentation where he talks about the Métis people and their relationship with the land and each other. A new experience that folks, and we'll send out information on this, folks can participate in custom soapstone carving. So you can book workshops with Fred Spence, and you can create like a small little polar bear, and he will help you with the carving of it. The workshops take about 2.5-3 hours. Huge. People really enjoy it. And then also offering, there's workshops with Borealis beading, where Melanie Gamache will teach folks how to do beading, whether it's traditional earrings or on moccasins, etc. And then I wanted to make sure that we also talked about the Indigenous culinary tastes. Krista Bruno Gunther in this picture here is the owner of Feast Cafe Bistro, which was the first Indigenous restaurant actually in Canada. Another relatively new experience is Prairie Berry, Indigenous owned, and it's a strawberry farm. You can do strawberry picking, and then you can sit down and have a meal. And the Indigenous chefs are working with bison and bannock and things like sweetgrass ice cream. And then I'm so glad that Sarah mentioned Nonsuch Brewery in her presentation, because her and I have tried and tested, and I promise you, we both believe it's the best burgers in Winnipeg. So Nonsuch Brewery is owned by a Métis gentleman, and as Sarah mentioned, he does incredible experiences as well. So
oh, I love it. And it's your guys' job to test them all out, right? And every
absolutely.
burger.
Absolutely. Beers, burgers,
Yeah.
belugas. Yes. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
love it. Thank you. And just going to run us through a few highlights.
Sure. So we've recently rebranded, and really we're talking about everybody's heart needs travel in different ways, and we feel we can check off all the boxes with whatever your heart needs. So whether it's, to reflect at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, or whether your heart needs to sing and maybe it's a festival, or maybe it's with the belugas as the canaries of the sea as that they're known, or if your heart needs to race, the viewing of polar bears, or quiet, camping, whatever your heart needs, Canada's heart is calling, and that's what we're here for. There's my contact info. So thank you. I just wanted to also mention that we do have Karen Schreiber, who I think Karen is participating in the webinar. Karen is in market for us, representing Travel Manitoba in both Germany and the UK. And so Sarah and I are absolutely available for any questions, but so is Karen, and I'll share her info when we do our follow-ups.
Oh, Melanie, thank you so much. That was absolutely fabulous. So many ideas, so many bucket list experiences. I hope you guys found that helpful, and thank you. So many hearts as well. Like I said, you guys are awesome. We love it. And yes, thank you.